Before we begin, two messages. What mobile platform do companies like eBay, NBC Universal, the Los Angeles Times, Razorfish, and PayPal use to build their cross-platform native applications? Titanium by Appcelerator. They aren't alone. There are now over 25,000 apps deployed by Appcelerator, which has been called the Rosetta Stone of app development. And you can start now for free. Just go to www.appcelerator.com for more information. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Hello everybody, welcome. This is Untether.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge, and this is where we talk to the innovators in the mobile space, the guys that are building things in the mobile space on a foundation that doesn't really exist. These are the pioneers in this space, and I'm very excited today because I'm going to assume. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to assume that a lot of you who are listening or watching this have heard of a company called Zappos. Tony Hsieh is the CEO of Zappos. A big story, bought by Amazon. You probably know this story, but if you don't, go to Zappos.com and you'll get the sense. We'll get a little bit of introduction. I'm talking today live from Vegas with Alex Kirmse, who's part of the mobile team, as well as Ian Klassen. Both these guys are part of the mobile team, a very small mobile team. We're here to talk about how Zappos launched their applications, what has happened since in the years or so since they launched their first, the iOS version, some of the refinements. We're going to dive into some of the things that they think are going to happen, where they're going to be focusing, where they're going to be looking in the future. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Christmas season, about this rush around Christmas buying and the way that the mobile space has affected the way people buy product. Going to try to cover that in a short period of time. Going to bring in Alex and Ian. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. I have to get the prerequisite Canadian versus American weather. You're in Vegas. I'm in Ottawa, Canada. It's about to snow. It's probably way too hot to be outside, right? Is that about it?
No, it's really pleasant now. We just got over summer heat. So it's quite pleasant. I think all your listeners should come down and spend lots of money. We're always really encouraging people, Canadians especially, to come down and spend those loonies.
Spend.
Yeah.
It's a certainly. I don't know if it's inspired by what you guys did to move your head office to Las Vegas, but I certainly know a number of Canadian companies with manufacturing that was in Ottawa is now moving to Las Vegas simply because of that. It's a great gateway. It's a hub, and I hear it's easy to get big open tracts of space to build on. So that's it. We're not here to talk about the real estate, guys. For those people who don't know who Zappos is, shame. Why don't you just give me a quick overview of what Zappos is, who they are? You've been around since '99. It's a pretty incredible story. But I'll leave it to you to tell.
Sure, Alex, you want to take that?
Sure. So Zappos was founded back in 1999 by Nick Swinburne, who was kind of walking through a mall and trying to find his favorite pair of shoes and couldn't find them, and thought, well, I should be able to find this online, and so that's kind of like the very early beginnings of it. And
that was the idea. I love simple inspiration. I should be able to find that online.
Yeah. And so like he tried to find the shoes and he couldn't find them. So he pitched this idea to sell shoes online. Tony Hsieh, who's our CEO now, was one of the very early investors. And it was kind of a crazy idea at the time. And a lot of Tony even thought that it was a bad idea because selling shoes online, you can't try it. You can't try shoes on. So how are you going to sell them online? It's a very personal thing. But they kept at it, and with having a really methodical and very laser focus on customer service, we were able to sell successfully shoes online. Free returns, free shipping. Really vast selection that you can't find in most stores, and I think by 2004, 2005, we basically became a household name, and from there we kind of grew. We were acquired by Amazon back in, I believe, 2008 or 2009.
Yeah, 2000. I think it was 2008.
Yeah, and but Amazon is pretty much kind of not really mingled with our culture, and our culture is still really very customer centric, very kind of goofy also, and really fun loving, and that's where we're at now. And we've actually expanded past shoes into clothing and accessories, and at one point we even had electronics, but not that much anymore. But definitely, like our focus is primarily not about shoes, but about having the best customer service.
Mm.
I mean, it's legendary. And for those who haven't read the book, I mean, you've got to just go and read Tony Hsieh's book. But this is a pioneers in '99. As Amazon was a pioneer back then as well. Ridiculed, berated in the media, slammed, and if you know the story. It's similar, right? It's between Zappos being kind of left for dead, as well as Amazon being written off 10 years ago to only come back. And in my opinion, if you've ever watched anything or read anything that I've done, I think that Amazon's going to be the most valuable company on the planet soon. So when you start to look back at this, that was a tectonic shift, right? When he was walking through the mall and wanted to buy shoes online. So now, 12 years later. It's 2011, and all of a sudden, mobile, right? The web was kind of a push. You had to convince somebody that it was okay to buy. You had to get them to the website. You had to push them, and then they had to feel comfortable doing it. Now, mobile, there's 5+ billion devices out there, and consumers are pulling this. I mean, what's shifted in the business as you've done this, as you've gone through the transition from web to mobile?
I don't think anything really shifted. I mean, I think the marketplace shifted itself. Apple introduced something that was just fantastic. The iPhone had been out for a while, and then the iPad came out 2010. I think it was like April of 2010. Yeah. We had 2 unsuccessful attempts at creating an app, and idea was hatched to pull it inside and create an iPad app, and we got working away on it. And I think it was like probably June of 2010.
So you said you had 2 unsuccessful attempts at building an app?
That's right, yeah.
Is that like an iOS app, or was that some other platform?
No, correct, iOS.
It was. I mean, what made them unsuccessful?
Well, like anything in life, I don't know if you've ever been divorced, but, it's always a two-way street. We're not the easiest company to work with. At times, we have a goofy culture. We're very iterative. Nothing's written down hardly ever around here. So,
well, I see stuff on the whiteboard behind you.
Yeah,
right?
No, this is it. These are requirements.
That's it right there. Yeah, it's perfect.
So, yeah, I mean, we can't always put blame on another company. It just didn't really work out. But we found, we find a lot of things that pull inside. The talent here is just incredible. The talent pool within Zappos is fantastic, and that's what we did. We used our talent pool.
So these were outsourced. You were outsourcing these, and the first apps, they weren't built by your internal team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just outsourced to augment the internal team. We always have a lot of projects going on 365 around here, so sometimes we just need to have our outside partners, and sometimes the partnerships do work out and sometimes they don't.
So let me ask you this, though. When you were kind of formulating around, I ask everybody when the seminal moment in mobile was. It was like January 9th, 2007. Steve Jobs talking about the iPhone, right? It was changed the world, changed everything. But when you guys were looking at this, in and around that time, the iPhone was released, and you were trying to decide whether or not this was worthwhile. Was mobile a fancy then, or did you guys see this? Like, did the company look at this and say, okay, mobile's going to be significant, we need to start investing in this now? Do you remember back then?
I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I think Zappos has always had a culture of kind of taking risks. Yeah. So it wasn't like, okay, we're going to, as a company, decide like we want to do mobile, or is it too risky to do that? There's constantly ideas coming up where it's like, okay, let's, here are all the opportunities. A lot of people had iPhones. People had apps that they were using. So it was like, okay, well, let's give it a go. The question was more about who was going to build it and how we were going to build it. and how quickly could we build it. And so there was a lot of, like Ian mentioned, like a lot of mulling around for almost like a year, I think, like before we actually built our first app on like, okay, we need to build something. And then we kind of, our CTO kind of set a deadline and said, let's build something by this time frame. And CEO was on board with that as well. And that's kind of the shift. But I mean, I remember even like some of the really early discussions. Was it like, okay, are we going to do an iPhone app or an iPad app? And Tony, our CEO, he was in the room and he was just like, no, let's do an iPad app. Let's do that one first. Because at that point, the iPad app was really new.
Yeah.
And we would have been, or we were like one of 1,000 apps as opposed to one of 10,000 apps.
Yeah, that's right.
And we kind of made a bigger splash. So that's why we had the iPad go out first before the iPhone. But it wasn't really, I actually think that's kind of the culture at Zappos. It's not really like, okay, we have to have a lot of documentation and a lot of like process to kind of prove something. It's like, I mean, we've had a lot of like cockamamie ideas that didn't go anywhere. But I think that's healthy for the company, and that's how Zappos has succeeded too. I mean, again, like who thought of like selling shoes online, how that would even work? And so like, you know, having an iPhone app is actually probably a lot less risky than some of the other ideas we've tried.
So when you, I mean, when you guys were building this, so it's kind of almost 2 years into the existence of iOS, and Android is starting to percolate. Were you getting a lot of pressure from customers saying, hey, listen, where's your app? Where's your app? Where's your app? Were they pulling you in that direction, or was this just an internal decision?
I think it was more of an internal decision. I don't know if there was like, I mean, obviously we get a lot of feedback, and so there's always ideas like, well, why don't you have an app? Why don't you have a store in like an actual store, a physical store in Canada, or why don't you expand to Mexico, or all that stuff? So,
or come up to Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, right? We wear shoes up here, not just moccasins and you know, fur boots, guys.
Well, you're talking to a Canadian here and a person who's going to marry a Canadian.
Nice. See, we're everywhere. Where are you from, Ian?
Vancouver.
Ah, nice. Well, so you know, obviously, so you build these apps, and you know, iPad first. You know, I heard a lot of that around that time. Is that, listen, it's very competitive in the iPhone market. Let's move into something that's new. We can be one of. I mean, if you built for the playbook on BlackBerry, you could be one of 10 apps, right? That's a pretty good. Sorry, yeah. Canadian humor there, right? But if you bring this a little bit forward now, when you launched the iPad app, what was that reaction like when you put it out there?
It was terrible.
Wait, I've been building this up.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It not only launched the iPad app, we also launched some other internal services as well. Yeah. And we had this. So I was begging Apple, hey, look at our app. It's going to be fantastic, fantastic. And they actually profiled us on what's hot. And the result was, we were getting thousands of downloads a day. It wasn't just a soft launch. It was a mad rush. Like, the floodgates were open. People were downloading this. We were like, oh my God, you know, we still have some bugs we got to work out. Some of our internal services weren't working properly. And the ratings were terrible. Absolutely terrible. But look, you know, that's the thing about Zappos. We don't just wait around. We go and do. Yeah. And that's so important around here. And we fixed, and we worked really, really hard day and night. And that's what you see today, the result.
I'm gonna come back to that story in 1 second, but I gotta ask, you're Zappos, right? You know, Alex, as you said, you became kind of a household name. Your CEO has just written a best-selling book. You've been bought by Amazon. And what's that conversation like with Apple? Are you, like, I talk to entrepreneurs who are literally basement first app saying, hey, I'm gonna get this featured by Apple. I'm just gonna call them. So what's it like for a company like Zappos to reach out? I mean, do you think that there's a little bit more, maybe you shouldn't answer this, but there's a little bit more reception because you are Zappos and you're a brand that signifies something that Apple really, really, you know, is in conjunction with their brand, quality, that kind of stuff?
I think it's a really little bit, but like, I don't think they give us a lot.
You know, it's an interesting thing because you know, I always envision you know, the significance of getting featured. It just struck me there as he was telling me that, is that the significance of getting featured, it doesn't diminish if you're Zappos or a small company. It still is it's the biggest impact that you can have on the App Store, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the biggest anything because and I'll tell you right now, they do not tell us that they're going to feature us. They don't tell us how long they're going to feature us for. Nothing, absolutely nothing. They just do it, and if they do it, we fully appreciate it and encourage them to do it some more. Yes, more often than not. We were just recently in staff favorites. Again, they don't tell anybody, but that's the great thing about Apple is that they don't play favorites.
It doesn't matter who you are. That's ultimately what it is.
You can be some guy in the basement doing an awesome app, just like you can be working for a major corporation. We're all in the same boat.
That's the democratic approach to that is very, very good because they can't be accused of anything. It's an interesting thing because Zappos is Zappos and Bill is Bill, right? They're different brands, different connotations or significations. So you launch it. But now back to that process. So you launched the first. This is the first application. It's built internally. You've looked at You've done it a couple of times with external contractors or external companies. Hasn't worked out for various reasons, whatever they may be. You bring it in house. You launch it, and you're featured. And then kind of all hell breaks loose because it's not the best experience. Then what do? You're diving into this, and you roll up your sleeves, and you just fill in the holes. Is that what you did?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to have a full set of hair like Alex here before this, and so if you're ever developing an app, I'd really caution you on doing this. But no, really, it was just something that we just had to divide and conquer. The team here is very dynamic. It's great, and I think that's why everybody should be working here at Zappos and at least apply because you could be working for people like Alex who really encourage you to do whatever it takes to do the best for the customer.
Well, so I mean, give us an example, like maybe not an example of something that was going wrong, but I mean, I now look at the app and many iterations later, and you're kind of in the 4.5, 5-star range, right? Everybody loves the application, and when you started seeing those 1 or 2 or bad reviews coming in, did you was that a kind of a quick realization about how impactful mobile is going to be? Again, it's like. That is sometimes we talk about this in a general term, but mobile can either raise a brand or destroy it pretty quickly. So did you look at it at that point and said, okay, all hands, let's get this done?
We knew that it would be impactful because we saw what other apps are doing. But at the same time, sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we really succeed. You cannot succeed without failing, and we did. I wouldn't say it was a failure. It was a learning process that we keep to this day.
It's like a little toddler falling down as he's learning to walk.
Yeah.
Right. And, but I mean, I think part of our culture also isn't that we pretty much read every bad review or anything that every good review too, but the bad reviews probably count triple or quadruple. Yeah. And we really focus on those, and that's not just on the mobile side, but throughout the whole organization. Any kind of bad review or any bad experience or anything like that will ripple through the company. And so if we get a 1-star review or a 2-star review, even now that we have 4.5 stars, we get a couple or now we're getting maybe a 4-star review, and we're like, well, why do we get a 4-star review instead of the 5-star review? And sometimes people don't even write down. They're just like, oh, this is a great app, absolutely perfect, and it gives us a 4-star, and we're just like, okay, well, what did we have to do to get that 5-star review? But that's also motivator to a motivator to just keep improving and smoothing things out and just fixing things.
When you started to get these reviews, it started to you started putting out patches or new releases. Was it a singular focus? So when you launched the iPad app, that was it. That was the only app that you launched, or
That's right.
Were you working on anything else at the time, or was it just the iPad?
It was the iPad app. We did a Universal app, iPad, iPhone app, December 3rd. That launched December 3rd. Yeah. So yeah, it was solely iPad at the time.
So you could redirect. So it wasn't like you were scattered across or thin across because you were building the Android version at the time. But this was dedicated resource. Was that was conscious, obviously, to get this done right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and getting it done right isn't exactly. I mean, you ask Alex. He's been here for 7 years, through a lot of iterations. I'm sure Alex, as you can probably say, the website, the first couple of years you were here, you're probably like, oh my god, now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I think we always just build on top of what we've already built and kind of refine things, and it's not kind of we're going to try to find the perfect solution and then put it out there, and then we never touch it again. Like website and technology, they aren't statues that you build once and then you let them sit in a museum. Like you're constantly refining them. They're much more like a garden or something organic that has to be like groomed and maintained. And I think that's kind of the mentality that we have at Zappos. So like nobody ever was under the false delusion that like the iPad app is going to go out and then we can go ahead and move on to something else.
Yeah, just kick the product out and then forget about it for a little while and come back to it. So you launch it and you refine it, and then you started to see obviously some people satisfied, where the reviews were coming in a little bit more positive. And at what point did you say, okay, for now, the iPad version sound safe, and then you obviously, it was a couple of months later that you launched the universal iOS and iPhone app, right? So you must have felt comfortable at some point to say, okay, we can now push over and launch that.
No, I know, and the thing is, like, don't forget, it wasn't a piece of crap when we launched it. It was a fully functioning app. You can shop on it and what have you. But our standards around here are insanely high. Yeah. We have very, very high standards, of course, relating to the customer. We want our customers to have the best treatment, the best call service centers treatment, and also the best mobile experience. So that's our standard, and we're never, ever satisfied.
So let me ask you about that. What is it? Is there one experience on the app itself, on any of the apps that you guys have built out in any over the last year, that you look at and say, okay, that is a uniquely Zappos experience? Is it, like, in an app format? Is there one thing that says, like, what, it only takes half a click or a brush to order, or is it that kind of stuff? Is there anything that's uniquely Zappos in there?
I think so. Alex, you have one?
I'm trying to think of one, because I know that there's a lot of apps out there, so I haven't seen everything that everybody else has built, and if they copied us. I guess like the imagery is pretty unique.
Oh yeah, we take a lot of time with the imagery, but one thing that's, I think, uniquely Zappos that a lot of people do comment on, Tony said that he wanted a Easter egg. So you take the app and you shake it, you have the cats fall down.
Yeah.
I remember people at Amazon going, "Wow, that's so cool!" It's so cool that you're able to do that, because we didn't approve it with anybody. It was just something that Tony just said, "Hey, we do something really fun and innovative," and we were allowed to do that and just release it.
Yeah, see, that's what I like. I mean, when you can exert a little bit of the culture into something like this, that's what it's about, isn't it? And did you leave it open, or did somebody find it, or did you did you publicize the fact that there was that in there?
No, we left it completely open.
Yeah.
And the great thing about working here is you do feel that empowerment.
Yeah.
Don't you find that, Alex?
Yeah. Like, I mean, we have a lot of flexibility to basically, try out different things. And if it really fails, then okay, well, we got slapped on the hand and we'll try something different. But for the most part, like, it's a very like organic, try out this and let's see what it works. And it's something that we want to keep maintaining, even if we're now a 5,000 person company.
It's crazy.
When 3-4 years ago we were only 2,000, and before that much smaller. But we think that like even a big company can be like really innovative and infuse their culture into the apps, and even the developers. I mean, if you look at our blog posts, we just featured like Tutu go out, and we had the main developer who worked on it presented. So I think it's not like, okay, it's going to be Ian or myself who presents it. It's going to be the developer, and he's going to kind of show it off in his own personal style, not some kind of corporate message. So
I love that, but I love that, and but you have a small team that's working on the mobile team, right? It's you guys who you've said you guys are not engineers, but then you've got how many engineers that are running the mobile side?
As of right now, 3.
Mm.
3.
Who are responsible for iOS and the Android version as well?
Yes.
Yeah. See, it's an incredible undertaking just to launch one application, then to do it across platform, or a combination iOS for iPhone and iPad. But then you go out and venture in the Android market, which, I mean, obviously they're over 50% market share now. Was there a big difference going from iOS into Android land when it came to development and kind of creating that user experience that you wanted to? I know
I think
you
so.
just laughed. I think it's like
I think we made a huge mistake, and maybe some of your viewers would be interested that we tried to copy the iOS app into Droid, and it just failed. So our first attempt did not work out, and we had to start from scratch again and do it all over.
And you kind of built from the ground up at that point. Instead of just trying to mimic the experience, you said, okay, it's not going to work. We're going to rebuild based on Android's capabilities, right? Is that...
Yeah, and I think that's probably like a really central theme for 2012, which is, I mean, there are central elements that make a good user experience on both platforms or on either web, tablet, or mobile device. But just like, you should try to like leverage the strengths of each platform. And so if the Android has a capability that the iOS platforms don't have, then let's exploit that. And then vice versa too. So you don't want to have like an iOS app basically on the Android.
Right.
Because it's kind of insulting to the Android folks.
I was going to say, you'd offend somebody for sure, right?
Yeah.
Well, you would. Although, you know, on the BlackBerry side, you know, one of the #1 selling themes is the iPhone theme to make your iPhones, your BlackBerry screen look like an iPhone, right? So,
yeah.
Some people it's a compliment, some people you offend, right?
Yeah.
What about things like HTML5, you know, and this kind of mobile web pieces that as HTML5 kind of matures. I mean, you're gonna have to wait till it goes through like W3C standards and all that. So it's gonna be years away till it's a standard. But still, how do you guys look at that technology and think, okay, you know, we're building all these native apps. What about HTML5? Does that cross your mind all the time?
Well, we actually had we're about to relaunch our mobile website, our new mobile website. So right now it's kind of like an older. It was actually a site that was built in just a few weeks. And it hasn't really had much love over like the last 2 or 3 years that it's been out. But the new site, it's about to launch. Like we're probably going to start launching it, or at least sending some traffic to it in the next week or so.
Yep.
And that really, it does use some of the like HTML5 or Safari specific capabilities that like obviously like IE6 or some of these browsers don't have, but. And that responsibility used to fall in the mobile team. So we actually had not just the iOS platforms and the Android platform, but also the mobile web. But like I think that's an opportunity for us to kind of work with the front end development team, who's going to take over that long term. But I think it's an interesting problem because I think the mobile web kind of serves a different purpose than the apps do. The apps, like you can really tie into some really like native functions on the phone, in terms of like the camera and the accelerometer and things like that, which you can't really do on the mobile web. But you know, the mobile web has its own strengths too. You know, you can send paid traffic to it. There's SEO optimization and all that good stuff. And you know, for the app, you probably don't need exact mobile equivalents.
Yeah.
For what the website has. On the website, you do want exact mobile equivalents because there's always the chance that somebody, either through Google or whatever, will hit that page, hit like www.zappos.com and some kind of landing page, and you want a mobile equivalent for that. Yeah. So I mean, it kind of solves two different problems. I think as of right now, we haven't really done HTML5 into the apps or vice versa. Like we haven't really done because there are technologies like PhoneGap and some other ones where you can kind of use HTML5 to construct apps, but we haven't really done that. We've kind of kept them separate at this point.
And purposely,
go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, we purposely didn't use. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything about PhoneGap or what have you, but you know, it's great technology. But we're about making great user experiences for somebody's device.
Right. And
just like we made a mistake where we tried to port over our iPhone app to Android, we don't want to have like some sort of common experience. We want people that have an iPhone or an Android to have a great experience with Zappos on their device.
Gotcha. And I think that's, yeah, you know, you learn these lessons many times, and sometimes they stick, and it seems like that's what it is. You're bringing this in-house, you're very conscious and aware of the experience that you want to create for your end user, and when you get there, you know that it's not going to be a shortcut. You know that it's probably going to be, you know, rolling up the sleeves, getting some work done, and getting a lot of feedback, obviously, good or bad, from your customer base.
Yeah.
What about, I read an article maybe a little while about some quotes that you had, Ian, about the way that people started to use this. And I'm really interested because, Zappos pioneers in e-commerce, literally, I mean, in niche e-commerce, for selling shoes. And then, and now, taking that experience onto the mobile side. What have you seen in terms of people looking at this, buying, browsing, those kind of things? Is there anything that stuck out to you that's different on the mobile side that was on the website?
Yeah, actually, there's quite a bit. One thing that I can share to you and your viewers is that we've noticed that more people are shopping on the weekend. We noticed a huge trend on weekend evening shoppers, a trend that we had never seen before. And that's where we realized that people were watching TV and using their iPad. We realized this months ago that there are a lot of people watching TV and using their iPad in conjunction.
And I mean, and so this is kind of like the folks that are out there sitting, like having that sit back experience, and during a commercial, quite frankly, just browsing. Was there was more browsing time being spent on this?
Yeah, so we noticed that the session times were quite long. People would want to put a lot of things in the cart and then eventually buy. So we were seeing some very unique behaviors that we were not seeing on the website at all.
And then, so did how do I ask that? Maybe I won't, because it's a revenue thing. But I'm interested in knowing that people, you guys are support hounds, right? I would consider Zappos a support first, a customer first, customer focused company, and not just saying that, actually acting on it. So when orders would come in this late at night, I mean, did it have an impact on your ability to work with these guys? Did they rush in, or was it, was support impacted? Anything that you saw that mobile did to the company culture?
Not really, because what we did was, support is so important to us. Our customers are so important to us that we actually have our own team, our own mobile team that does support calls.
Okay.
And they're actually part of our team, where they're involved in our meetings. They know exactly what we do. They're very, very high contributors to our team. And that was so important because we want them to know what we're doing to give the best customer experience possible. So when you call up that number on your cell phone or on your iPad, it's going to go to people who really can help you out. So no, we Zappos is a 365, 24/7 type of company, and no matter when you shop, we will have somebody there to support you.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. That's great. But so you didn't notice any bump in calls as a result of that? It was just because as being featured, you downloaded so many times, and all of a sudden people are buying at odd hours. So the algorithm, I would assume, and that the support algorithm changes because of mobile, right? Because people are buying things when typically over the last to that point maybe 10 years, who were buying on the web didn't buy at that time.
Mm-hmm. True enough. I mean, like we always have people here.
Yeah.
We always have people here to support our customers. So even though we did have some mobile people buying at different times that we're not normally used to, we still have customer service here that can give that fantastic Zappos customer service that people expect.
Okay.
And I guess the other thing is that, like, I mean, we're on both coasts. We're all over the U.S. So it's like when it's midnight midnight in the East Coast, then it's like 3 a.m. on the West Coast. That's probably like the quietest time for us.
Yeah.
But like there's actually like not a huge like quiet time. So we've always got people here, and they're not like just like sleeping at the desk or anything like that. I mean, they're completely awake and like the cheeriest people you'll ever talk to at 3 o'clock in the morning. But we were ready, and like Ian said, we actually created a mobile CLT team,
okay,
a customer loyalty team. That's what we call our contact center.
So even Alex and I will be taking calls. Tony will be taking calls. our CFO will be taking calls over Christmas time. Everybody in this company takes calls.
That's incredible. I love that culture. Like, you know, I read about it. I've watched many interviews with your CEO Tony. But you know, I love the fact that it just permeates through you guys. I can see that. You know, you don't just call it support. You call it world-class Zappos support. Like, I almost expect for like a little bit of, you know, trademark up in the top. Ding. but so we're entering this time. We were joking before. It's like, of course you have time to do this interview, you know, as you're ramping up for the busiest season, you know, in the company, which is around Christmas time. There's a massive you know, focus right now on mobile commerce and mobile as a driver to revenue, and you know, you guys obviously are doing this. You're buying, you can buy shoes and you can buy clothes and you can buy accessories through these devices. I mean, do you anticipate this is going to be the year of mobile, for the Christmas of mobile that everybody's talking about for Zappos, or do you think it's just you've just been riding this wave that it's just going to crest at Christmas like it normally does?
Oh yeah, we're buying Cadillacs. Like
that's right. That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think like definitely, I think mobile is going to be a bigger role every holiday season, but I don't think that's going to be like this is the year and then next year. Well, that was a 2011 was a great Christmas like mobile year, but like we're not going to see that anymore. I just see like that as being a shift,
yeah,
and that we're just moving away from the web, the World Wide Web, no longer being just a desktop or computer kind of experience, but it's like connected in many different forms, be it a phone or a tablet or maybe refrigerators in the future or whatever. But like, you know, we're all like going to keep tapping into things and make it more convenient too. And I think that's, again, it kind of speaks to where we're going with Zappos in terms of like trying to leverage the strengths of the platform. So I think like, again, tablet is kind of a different beast than the mobile, even though we kind of, even internally, we lump those two together. They're actually like pretty different experiences, and you're kind of reaching out to customers at a different time in a different context. So
yeah, bite size versus sit back or you know, sit down or lay back experience.
Yeah.
So talk about what's happening going forward. Like, you know, I don't think that you guys are just kicking back. You know, on the successes that you've had with the mobile applications. I mean, what are you looking at for 2012? Is there technology that gets you excited about in the mobile space, about where they're going, things that you're going to be integrating into the applications, technologies you're looking at?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, Alex is really thinking up day and night of some really cool ideas.
Yeah, and I think like one of the big ones is for us specifically is push notifications. Like we have a fulfillment center that runs 24 hours. We have a customer service center that runs 24 hours. All our operations are 24 hours, and we can notify you when something ships, when something arrives, when something that you bought is out of stock has come back into stock. We can notify you of those things, and that's one of the big things we're looking to tackle.
Yep.
But there's also a lot of things that on the mobile space in terms of the camera, and then on the tablet, even like some of the gestures and the fact that you're using your fingers and your thumbs and your hands as opposed to using like a mouse, which opens up a lot of possibilities. And on top of it, we have like, I guess to combine all that stuff together is that we have this like state-of-the-art photo processing center.
Yeah.
So we can do a lot of custom photography and again, like working with augmented reality and
video.
Yeah, video. We have over 100,000 videos, I believe.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, product videos. So there's a lot of things that we can do, even when it comes to like the QR codes and image recognition and things like that.
I was going to ask about QR codes because I mean, certainly they're I think they're an interim step to a lot of the things, the great technologies that are going to come. We have to get, walk before you run. But do you ever get like, brick and mortar envy because you see all these guys trying to use QR codes everywhere to bridge that gap in the marketing gap? I mean, I see it from your product standpoint when it arrives, but do you ever get that kind of envy? God, I wish we had a store, so we could do NFC payments or something like that. Do you ever get that?
I don't.
No,
I sometimes do. There's like geek in me that like I kind of love the fact that like there's some like geolocation based stuff that obviously like we're going to be exploring too, but like in the store as you're going down the aisle, that like you could be notified that you're really close to something like a a product that you might like or something like that, which doesn't, without having a physical store, doesn't always make as much sense. But I think there's ways around that, and I think there's ways to enhance that where like brick and mortars, like they wish that they had probably web envy.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Like wishing that they were Zappos and could fulfill and have like this vast inventory that a physical store can't possibly have.
Yeah, I mean the grass is always greener, right? I mean, if we were a brick and mortar store, we'd have all the stores to worry about. Whereas like we have the convenience that we don't have that. Then again, it would be kind of cool to have some like the stores to play with, but it makes it more challenging for us because like we're all virtual.
Yeah. Well, I can see some great plays for some of this technology, even NFC, built into the shipping containers or the boxes or the packages that you send out, or QR codes in those as well to kind of showcase a video of the shoes or a complementary product or something like that. And certainly by scanning that, you're geotagging where that came from. You can do a lot of things around that to play and contribute to the experience, the Zappos experience, right? So that's got to be pretty cool, right? When you've kind of put 2011 behind you, Christmas rush done, set your sight on now how do we engage with that device without without them going to an app or without them going to the website because they've got the product in their hand. You guys look at that as a challenge as well, obviously.
Yeah, I think like me coming from user experience prior to being with the mobile team. We see every customer touch point as another opportunity to wow our customers. So, the physical box is a perfect example that we've had long discussions about in the user experience teams of like, that's a touch point. I mean, I think Apple probably one of the best companies in terms of that just box experience, just the texture of the box, opening it up. There's a lot of little like wows in there and a lot of little nuances that both are consciously noticed, but also subconsciously noticed that kind of reinforce the brand and reinforce the service. And I think, I mean, you hit the nail on the head that like that's, again, for us, mobile is, it's just another way to wow our customers. And we're definitely like looking to explore all that. But you're absolutely right. Like for 2011, we're trying to kind of get all our ducks in a row to have like the absolute best holiday season. And also for our customers so that like, they're finding the products that they want. But 2012 is going to be a really great year.
It's funny that you say that about the Apple packaging because my wife keeps going to throw away all my empty boxes. She's like, they're just empty boxes. And no. Those aren't empty boxes. That's an experience. See how it closes without actually a latch or tape? That's an experience, right? And so I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Alex, because it's right there. So you guys cruising through this year, long-term vision. Do you see? This is going to be my last question. How's that? Do you see a shift in kind of a year from now that like everything else, so many 50% of Google searches now are done on mobile devices. Do you see that? Do you see that kind of trending happening? Where listen, you know what? There's going to be a point in time where traditional web from a desktop or a laptop is going to be usurped or trounced by mobile activity. Do you see that coming, or is it like just on a personal note? Do you see that kind of stuff coming?
Like I think it was actually really cool. We all went to WWDC just last year or this year, pardon me. It was really great when you see Steve Jobs saying, well, we're going to promote the mobile devices and demote the actual computers, and it's all going to be one thing. And I think what you're going to see is like a morphing of your PC is not going to be your PC so much anymore, and your mobile device isn't going to be your mobile device anymore. It's going to morph into new, great, awesome devices that we're not even thinking about right now. Yep. And I'd really welcome the opportunity to come back on your show maybe halfway through the year and show you what we're doing with these mobile devices and some of the products that we're going to be doing.
I would love that. I would love that.
But I think it is interesting though, because like I've thought about that because again, I also came from front end development, and there we're really dealing with the web page or the website. Yeah. And I definitely see like it may not happen like right away because I think there's a lot of especially in e-commerce, there's a lot of SEO and paid traffic and all that stuff that is a real integral part of that. And until we've really like solved that on the mobile space, I don't think there's going to be that shift. But like,
that's a great point.
In 3 or 5 years, there's going to have like the web. Maybe your typical laptop and desktop will have just touch screens. So you actually have to kind of reconfigure the way your website even works, just to deal with all these like gestures and things like that. Especially if like more and more people are consuming. I actually think like mobile phone probably will kind of stay where it is, but I think tablet is the thing that's going to kind of shift things, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I don't have the answers to how that's going to shift, but I definitely see that there is going to be a shift of people just consuming data and the web in whatever is convenient. If they're out on a jet ski or whatever, or if they're in an airport or wherever they are, like they're going to be able to consume the data the way they want to, and you're kind of getting away from like the static kind of like web page model of like it's basically an interactive poster or whatever, which we've moved away from, I think, in the last 5 years. But like I think there's still that kind of like property, that kind of like static pages, and then you kind of they're interlinked, and I think we're kind of moving away from that. And I think like mobile is definitely pushing it in that other direction much faster than it was before.
Absolutely. What I gotta ask this because you guys are Zappos. What keeps you guys up at night? Like, is there anything that you kind of like jolts you out of bed because you're like, oh my god? I mean, is there anything that you're seeing that just kind of that either completely to the core excites you about this industry, the mobile space, or frightens you to the core about the mobile space? Is there anything? Like,
well, my wife and I just had a baby daughter, so that keeps you up at night.
I was gonna say.
So when I am up at night, burping or what have you, I mean, there are some things, some technologies that we're looking at right now, looking at how we're going to integrate to Zappos, and I don't want to give all the chickens away. We'd love to show you next year.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine.
I just think that, like, there's so many opportunities. It's kind of like being a kid in the candy store and not knowing like what candy to go for.
Shiny
first.
object syndrome, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, man, there's like so many. I mean, again, like the camera and then the accelerometer. That there's like so many cool things there. The fact that people have mobile devices with them everywhere. That it's no longer like, okay, I have to like either access Zappos from work or I have to access it from my home. I'm actually like always constantly connected. I think there's like so many like different ways to slice and dice that. For me, it's really like, man, there's so many things to work on. Are we going down the right one? And are we missing that shiny object when we went after this one? But you live and learn, and I think there's enough opportunities for everybody. So it's not like.
I love it. You guys have been so open, so honest. I can tell the enthusiasm not only for what you're doing in the mobile space around the products that you're doing and the product that you're selling, but also for the company. And it's really great. It shines through here. So I really thank you guys for coming on and sharing this. And I will absolutely, Ian, I will call you on that to get you back on to talk about what you guys are doing mid-year next year, because I can't wait to see. I think we've just touched the surface here.
I agree. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. It's been a really fun time.
Been speaking with Alex Kirmse and Ian Klassen, who are part of the mobile team for Zappos. Go to Zappos.com. Do a search in obviously the App Store or the Android Marketplace for their product. Go and take a look at it. Play with it. Go buy. Go spend. Do all your Christmas shopping. You can do it right from your couch or your car or on a jet ski. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and John's at Zappos.com if you want to come work for the best place in America.
Nice. I'll be right there. Going to Vegas.
We hire Canadians.
You do. Well, we're a good people. We're a sturdy people, and we really appreciate warmth, right? So, it seems like it's a warm company in a warm locale. We're going to stop there. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. Folks who are watching this or listening, wherever you may be, whatever you're doing, I really appreciate the fact that you've taken a moment to watch or listen this episode. I know you found tremendous value from these guys. Reach out, let me know what you think. Untether@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, and we will see you next time on untether.tv. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.